All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here. All right, today, in this mid-July, hopefully you guys are all halfway to your goals or more. Today, we are very fortunate to have from our SCC, Sutherland Center Campus office, John Williams. John, welcome to the show. Hit *6, and then we can hear you.
Having me.
There he is.
Hello, Rick. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you taking your time out on this wonderful Monday at 8 a.m., bright and early. So let's start off. Tell us a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, all that good stuff, my man.
Well, let's see. I am in my 9th year, so I started in 2016. I'm from Missouri originally. I graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Computer Animation. After graduating, realized I didn't want to be stuck behind a computer for 90 hours a week, slaving away to maybe get the job I wanted by the time I was 60. And I realized life was about living. So I reevaluated what I wanted to do. And long story short, my partner at the time, we'd been together about 4 years or so, moved out to Las Vegas. We thought we would part ways. Realized that, we meant more to each other than we thought. So I was like, heck, let's move out to Las Vegas. Moved out to Las Vegas. Ended up just finding a job leasing apartments because it was convenient. It got me cheaper rent, and I'm good at selling stuff. And did that for about 5 years, left there, and ended up just wanting to play. Wanted to have fun. Didn't really want to get serious. I was still in my 20s, and ended up working for REI, the outdoor recreation company, and had a lot of fun doing that for many years. But, when I was in my early 30s, was kind of getting that itch of, I really don't want to be in retail any longer. and I really want a career. And I had thought about real estate back when I was leasing apartments. But to be honest, actually, my parents recommended it. But to be very honest, I just wasn't ready to grow up. I wasn't ready to be that serious and be professional. I just wanted to have fun and live life. And so I didn't do it. And then when I left REI, I was at that point where I'm like, okay, I need something that's going to sustain me into my adulthood and be an actual career that I can succeed at and really build something for myself. And I kind of looked at real estate again and said, heck, I don't like working for other people. I have high expectations of myself, and usually they're higher than the people who are managing me. So that usually creates an issue. And I just thought, why not? Why not give it a try? So found a school online, I think Key Realty School. I didn't know about Berkshire at the time, and went through the school and then was looking at places to go and talked to another student who mentioned Berkshire Hathaway, and hadn't really thought about Berkshire Hathaway, honestly. And then ended up interviewing with, the great late Suzanne Pashnick, and who we miss dearly. And she really was a firecracker. I needed somebody to kind of whoop my butt into shape and keep me accountable, and that's it. So she did that, and here we are.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I forgot that you had REI. That's right. And that's an awesome place. They still have a place in Summerlin, don't they?
Yeah.
I think they do. Yeah.
Yep, that was the store I worked at.
They do a great job.
Yep.
Good job. Good job. All right. So awesome. So, it sounds to me like a lot of the things that you're saying describe the entrepreneurial spirit. You know what your value is, and having somebody above you that doesn't see that really stifles you. Would you agree?
100%. I looking back, at the time I didn't think it was so pleasant, but I've gotten fired from I think every job I've ever had. And not because of lack of performance, but generally because I was a thorn in the side of the people above me because I actually cared about getting stuff done. And, that lasted for so long. But then after the apartments, really, that was the worst experience I had with working, in a corporate environment for other people. And, there were just some bad actors, some people that acted with, out integrity. And I just was like, I don't need to deal with this. I know my worth, like you said. I know what I can do, and I know my skills, and I know that if I want to work hard, I can do everything I need to succeed to the level I want if there's nothing holding me back. And I just really hadn't seen anything other than real estate that could give you that opportunity, without years and years and years and years and years of schooling, and a pretty awesome opportunity it has been.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through the same type of thing. When you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you feel like having people above you, it's great if they like you and they want to pull you up, but if they're intimidated by you and want to squash you and try to take credit for the things that you do, it can be very, very stressful. Yep.
Yeah. In the corporate world, there's a saying that poop floats, and so usually the managerial positions aren't necessarily filled with the most skilled people, but usually with the people that are yes men and just do what the people above them want. So that's how it goes.
Yeah, and it's really comforting to know that in real estate you get paid what you're worth, and the number one vote is yours.
100%. I mean, that's an interesting subject because, right now with, all this going on in real estate and, people scrutinizing people's worth, I find it interesting because, we all, determine our own worth, but a lot of us don't feel like we have that power or that ability. And I think that more of us do than we want to believe. So, for whoever's listening out there, remember that you are valuable, you have skills, and don't let that be taken for granted. Now, obviously, no, you can't just demand whatever you want wherever you are or whatever, but know your worth and don't stand for less than that.
Right. No, I love that. And that's one of the things about real estate that's great or scary. It depends on what your attitude is. You have to be confident, competent, and natural. And, I remember when you started, okay, so you did some things that other people aren't comfortable doing. Like you immediately started prospecting, getting on the phone, talking to people, going on appointments, right? Take us through that process would be great.
Yeah, I'm very stubborn. I'm the kind of guy that feels like I have the best ideas all the time, and I've, been maturing, and dealing with that throughout my life. But when I got to real estate, I was just finally to the point in my life where I was like, exhausted at fighting an uphill battle every time I try to do something and, going against the grain. So I was like, you know what? I don't have the best idea. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just going to give in to the experience of others and lean into proven practices. And that's one of the things I really loved about and still do love about Berkshire Hathaway is the assistance, the training, and the mentorship, and the fact that there were systems and tools in place to teach me how to prospect. And, you guys didn't just give me a fish, you taught me how to fish. And that was really nice. It was challenging for the first year. I don't think I had a sale for the first 9 months or so. I mean, I felt like it took me a lot longer to get a sale than a lot of others. However, I was only prospecting $200,000 and up and only for sellers. I was not even thinking about buyers, trying to get buyers, nothing. It was only sellers. It was only $200,000 and up, and it was only like immediate appointments and people that are motivated. And I really stuck to that. I just really stuck to that, and I didn't want to waste my time with what I thought deals would be, or what deals that I thought would be time consuming that wouldn't lead me to my goals, And I think that's another important thing was Berkshire helped me set goals,
Yeah. Well, you were working with the wonderful Suzanne. I remember when she was having her battles, I used to call her every Friday on my way home, and some days it would be very interesting in conversations. She was a hoot, wasn't she?
She was, and I think this is one of the most important things that I've had in my real estate life is are people around me that I can lean into. Having more experienced folks around you is key in anything. And my partner and I ran into some great mentors like 2018, 2019, right before the pandemic, and really kind of changed our mindset about a lot of things. But, one of the big things was, just having that open mindset for coaching and mentorship, and being willing to learn and grow from people that have the results. If you're listening to people that don't have the results that you want, like, what are you doing? Why would you listen to somebody, who's an accountant tell you about, like something in your real estate career, right? I mean, that just doesn't make sense. So having Suzanne, somebody who had 30, 40 plus years in the business experience was just a godsend. I mean, she was invaluable. I can't say enough about how she helped me. And even 5, 6, 7 years into my career, when I know a lot of stuff, but I will never think I know everything. And I mean, this is an industry,
Right.
which one of the things I love about it, it's an industry that you're always growing and evolving and learning. And well, you should be. Let's just say that. I think the agents that don't continuously grow and evolve, you just get left behind, So it all depends on your level of work. But if you want to succeed, then you need to have somebody in your corner. And having Suzanne in my corner and also Amanda have both been two really great resources for me. And even after I knew stuff, I would go and just double check with them, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking, but just make sure I'm on the right track, and that was very, very valuable. Yeah,
they're both great. And we still have Amanda, so that's great. I mean, she's here every day, so I talk to her at least a few times a week. She's rocking it. I was just go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, but to go back to your question a little bit further about what that looked like. I mean, when I first started, I would prospect 4 hours a day, every single day, 5 days a week without fail, like nonstop. And then for the first year or so, I mean, if I got my appointments, I'd leave for the day. If it was noon or 1 o'clock, I'd leave and I'd go have fun. That was my reward. But having that routine, that consistency, which is what Berkshire brought to me, that was invaluable. That consistent routine, and a system to follow. It's a numbers game. So having that system was huge. Right. And that's what really I leaned into I still lean into that actually.
No, it's when you develop that habit, like you mentioned earlier, you said, I don't think I closed one for 8-9 months. Well, you were laying a tremendous foundation that carries with it tremendous momentum when it kicks in gear. All the guys and women that close a lot of deals, most of them started off what some people would consider slow, because when you're laying the foundation, like you said, it doesn't include buyers a lot of times at first, although you can work buyers, right? So it's a good way to do it. And then honestly, if you prospect 4 hours a day and then leave at 1 o'clock, you do it guilt-free, because how many people do you know that prospect 4 hours a day or can do it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And
favorite,
one of the things that I learned, I was just going to say, one of the things I learned from you, in the beginning was, totally lost my train of thought. Never mind, move on. I'll remember it here in a second.
That just means you learned nothing from me. No, I'm kidding. I love it. No, my favorite question is people say, because like people will say to me, okay, Rick, what should I be doing new? What should I be doing different? And I always ask them this question, and it drives them crazy. Well, what's your contact per day ratio? I mean, how many contacts should you make a day? 20. How many days? Well, I don't want, that's boring. No, nothing happens unless you do the foundational, fundamental parts of the business, right? It's so crazy.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Absolutely. The thing that I learned from you actually, I remember, it's a numbers game. And you can't control the outcome, but you can control the process. And that is what I really leaned into to get over those mental humps, because it's all like sales is all mindset. I mean, if we be real, like any kind of sales, anything you do like this, it's 100% mindset. I can't tell you how much mindset affects everything. And, you going 2, 3, 4 hours of getting rejected and no's and getting yelled at or whatever, it gets kind of exhausting. And I really leaned into that of just like, hey, I can't control the outcome. All I can control is the process, and I'm doing the work. I'm putting in the effort to do the process. I'm consistent with that. It will lead to results. And I just had to kind of trust in that. But the more I leaned into that and really focused on, okay, my goal is setting appointments, having good conversations, and hitting my goal, I would hit my goal, and I achieved the success I wanted. And, I'd up my goal every year. And I think for the first 4, 5, 6 years in business, I doubled my income every year and just was making huge leaps because I stayed with the process and I stayed with the foundational work that you guys taught.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's so true. And, it's funny because I just did my video this morning on that very thing. You can't control the outcome every day, but you can control what you're doing. And, years ago I met Deepak Chopra, and his whole talk was that the process guarantees the outcome. And that adds a whole bunch of it actually adds a whole bunch of comfort mentally to you by knowing that, right?
It does. It really
does.
Tell
us a little about that.
Well, you know, I can transition that into kind of where my business is at today.
Let's do it.
You know, there's a whole, you know, we all know there's a whole lot changing in real estate. But, you know, I pretty much built my career on calling expired listings and did expireds nonstop. But over the years, you know, I've seen where I can feel a change in the environment. You know, it started by maybe the first couple of years and, you know, I admit I was calling at 7:30 to get a little bit of a lead on people, you know, because business people are getting ready at 7:30 to lead by 8, although shouldn't do that. We should call at 8. But calling at 7:30, you know, I might get 5 or 6 people like, oh man, I had like 3 people call me this morning. Why are you calling so early? And then like a year, 2 years later, I've had 10 people. Then another year was, I've had 30 people. Then another year was like, I've had 50 people call me this morning. And then in the last few years, I started getting people complaining about people calling at like 6 and 6:30 and 7. And I'm like, okay, like people are getting excessive. And where this is going is I feel like the changes Berkshire Hathaway led by example so well for so many years that other brokerages caught on to how we taught our agents to produce business and generate business and started seeing a lot more people hit the phones. So long story short, fast forward to today and really have transitioned my business pretty much to 100% networking and referral-based business through my sphere of influence and just connections. And it's been very nerve-wracking in the sense that, you know, with expireds and phone calls, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, meaning I know at least these people are somewhat motivated. And if my skills are sharpened enough, I can convert these phone calls into appointments and kind of generate my own business. Well, with with SOI and networking, this is my first year I've really on like 100% full force. I've been ramping up over the last year and a half. But anyway, you know, it's nerve-wracking because I can't just pick up a phone and necessarily have a call with a friend and generate an appointment out of it. You know, it's not as direct. However, I've been just leaning into the process. I've been trusting the process and just, you know, going, okay, if I'm just making my calls, if I just consistently call, you know, X amount of my network a day, and I keep that consistency going with having conversations, but just in a new realm, just focus somewhere else. So instead of on the phone, you know, now it's with it's still on the phone, but instead of random people expired, it's friends, family, past clients, things like that. Or I'm going out and I'm having fun more. I'm socializing more. I'm having dinners, lunches, going to evening events and socializing more, but with a more intentional focus on having real conversations with people and focusing it or directing it on real estate at some point to try to, you know, build my network organically. And I've seen absolutely awesome results from that. It's a little nerve-wracking because the results don't happen right after the action, right? Like I go out, meet somebody, put them on my phone, whatever. And it's not like, oh, the next day they're there. So it's just learning a whole new process of, okay, now how do I keep track of that person and how do I make sure I nurture them and then develop them into something deeper? And so as I figure out that process, the results are coming more and more, but the biggest key is the consistency of having the conversations. And, you know, you and I both know, everybody probably on this call knows that, you know, real estate's about talking to people. It's how many people are you talking to? How many conversations are you having? That's all it is. If you boil down the industry to its absolute core, it's you're having conversations with people to get business. That's it. And so how you do that is up to you. But I mean, I think what I've learned over the years is the consistency is probably the biggest key. And I can't explain it, you know, but it's just this different when even if you make 5 calls a day, and that's it. All you make is 5 calls a day to your sphere, but you're every single day doing it. You're probably going to get better results than if you called 20 people one day a week and then didn't call anybody the rest of the week. I don't know what it is, but it just has proven itself true time and time again.
Right. It almost creates like a karmic event too, is that when you're doing it consistently, it produces results.
It does. It really does. And I think it maybe it's like, like varying your bet up or changing slot machines at a casino. It's like you just never know who's going to be home at what time. So if I try to call 20 people at one time, I might only get one or two people that answer. Whereas if I called those same 20 people over the course of a week, just consistently, I may hit them at different times and end up talking to more people. I don't know, but it definitely is a real thing.
Right. Right. And with all the stuff going on, you mentioned the new environment and so forth too. I think it's perfect to remind people that don't call the do not call list, and the federal law says 8 a.m. in the morning because you can call expired, you can call old expireds and new expireds. You just got to wait. I always have to say in Vegas, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., because we're a 3-shift town.
Yeah. And,
right,
I still call expireds, but, I call after 8 and, maybe sometimes in the afternoon or the middle of the day. And even even changing up when I'm calling expireds or just listed as sold has a better effect than just, doing it all the time at the same time, But I think sometimes the lesson here is the industry changes, everything changes, and I think the key benefit or a key skill in real estate is knowing when to pivot and how to pivot and being able to be flexible in your business when things do change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, absolutely. And, the thing is that, it almost doesn't matter what time you call, because some people will see, oh, look, another real estate agent. Oh, look, another real estate agent. By the fifth call, then they pick it up and go, what's going on? Right. Well, and then you can get into it too. So you never know. And I have always found in my career that I got as much, maybe even more business from the old expireds. I kept them for years and just stayed in touch with them. And, with our system of the VAC, with the neighborhood reports and the newsletters in the market, is always something you can keep them on a drip with.
Absolutely, 100%. And something that I've done that I did for most of my career, and I still do, but really when I was calling heavy, and hopefully somebody takes a note of this out there, but I collected people that I deemed real people in my head, meaning they were really easy to talk to. They were fun to conversate with. They were positive, and most likely they were going to be in a price point I was targeting, meaning like $1 million and above. So my whole career, I've been working towards more and more and more luxury. And so I stayed focused from the beginning. And if I'm prospecting somebody and it was a wrong number, but I could turn it into a great conversation, or the person didn't need any help or whatever reason they weren't going to sell, I always try, if they meet my criteria, being a nice person, easy to talk to and friendly, then I'm going to try to offer to be a resource. Hey, before I let you go, do you need any contractors, vendors, or any information that I can help you out with? And through this, I've actually collected, I've probably added several hundred people to my SOI over the last 5 or 6 years just by having nice conversations with them, even though on that phone call, they weren't going to be a person to do business or anything. Case in point, I have a $2.1 million listing right now in Roma Hills that literally was somebody I prospected in my very first year in real estate in 2016. I have just stayed in light touch with them, not even really built the deepest relationship, but in about a year and a half ago, I started some really heavy marketing to my SOI, and they've been on that plan, and they reached out and were like, hey, we've seen you all over Facebook. We'd like to check you out for our listing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So, I know there's a lot of training out there that kind of teaches just only go after immediate business and immediate. And I think there's a lot of, validation to that and truth to that. I just wouldn't rule out the alternative of cultivating and building long-term connections, because, I've really turned my mindset around to realizing that this industry is all about relationships and it's all about helping people. And so, if you have that mindset and attitude about truly wanting to build relationships, truly wanting to help people without caring about the outcome, that's the key. Then people really feel that, and you build these relationships, and you never know when they're going to activate or have somebody they run into that they're going to refer. I'm starting to now get those kind of things happening, but I had to put in the work, over the last several years to build that. And so I would say anybody listening now, just start building those relationships right now. And you just don't even know, before you know it, you'll have popcorn popping deals just in the background popping off, when you don't even realize it because you've cultivated those relationships.
Yeah. And I used to do the same thing too. I had people in neighborhoods and they would just fill me in as to what was going on and give me referrals. And so the key is having people in there that respect what you do, respect who you are willing to help out. And there's a lot of people out there like that. Really, right?
Yeah, there are. And, I think in the world we live in today where nobody cares about anybody else, it feels like nobody wants to think beyond their nose. If your request doesn't fall right squarely within their field of view and like their job duty, they don't even use a brain cell to think about how they could help you or who they could refer you to. And I feel like when, you're genuine and you come from a place of really caring with people, they pick up on that because it's rare, and really, if we think about it, to succeed in this business, you just have to be 1% better than most other people, because, kind of in a society where things are racing to the bottom, so if you just put a little bit of extra effort in, a little bit of caring, people see that and it will start to develop really good relationships for you that will pay off dividends in the long run.
Yeah. I love to see that you're authentic, you're genuine, and you're a hard worker and are enthusiastic about who you are and what you do for work.
Yeah, well, I think that's important. I don't know. I'm not somebody that can really put my heart and soul into something that I don't believe in, or care about. So I truly love helping people, and it's really fun helping people in this way.
It's great, isn't it? Awesome. Well, any final words you want to leave these lovely people, John?
Gosh. I would say get clarity on what you want. The great Matt Mullen, I did a lot of coaching with Matt over the last year, he's just so valuable with so much knowledge. But one of the things I really picked up in the last few years, especially from him, and it came from a few other places, but he drove it home, is getting clarity. And if you don't have clarity on what you want your life to look like, what you want your finances to look like, what you want your future to look like, you're kind of blowing around like a fart in the wind, and if you really want to achieve some goals, whatever they are, you have to have a plan. You have to know what that looks like down to the last minute detail. And so I would challenge everybody out there to, think about where they want to be in 10, 20 years and imagine that lifestyle and reverse engineer their way back to figure out how they can get it. And, use that to create a framework and standards for your real estate business so that you create the kind of business that you want. A lot of people out there, I feel like they have to do business in a certain way because they see other people doing it that way. But you can define your own business. You can define when you work, how you work, who you work with, what kind of price points you work, like all this stuff. You are in control. And I think that's something that I really found valuable in the beginning was I had that clarity. I was like, I want to be a luxury agent. I don't want to be working the weekends. I want to have free time, this, and this. And of course you sacrifice and you have to do what you got to do. But if you don't have the clarity of what you want, then it makes it much harder to make daily decisions that will actually get you to the goal. But when you have that goal and it's in mind all the time, you have a dream board and it's in front of you, you'll do little actions daily that you may not realize are getting you to that goal, but it does. And so that'd be the biggest takeaway I would have. But.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of plugging in the address into your GPS. You can't just put 100.
That's a great analogy. Yeah. Yeah, that is a great analogy. Yeah. You may get there eventually, but you're going to take some wrong turns and you're going to waste a lot of time,
Right. Yes, no, exactly right. Yep, I agree with that 100%. Clarity is the key. That's where it all starts, and then the decision. I'm going to do what it takes, and then obviously followed by action. That's such a great comment. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, my man. I just want to say thank you very much for taking your time out today. This has been completely helpful. I'm sure people will get a lot of nuggets. We're going to send this out everywhere as we do, see how many plays we can get, and I'm sure we'll get a lot of them.
Sweet.
John, thanks for your time today. Appreciate you.
Most welcome. Thanks for having me, Rick. Have a good one.
You got it, my man. Keep it rocking. Say hi to Scott.
All righty. Will do. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.